In many East Asian cultures, removing one's shoes before entering a home is a familiar and almost unquestioned habit. This action is usually explained through practical reasons such as cleanliness and hygiene. However, behind this seemingly ordinary custom, earlier generations attached deeper meanings, including certain taboos surrounding which shoes should not be brought inside the house. According to folk belief, not all shoes are the same. Some are worn for everyday activities, while others have passed through places or circumstances considered unsuitable for entering the home. Because shoes are always in direct contact with the ground, people believed they carried not only dirt, but also traces of the places a person had been. In Vietnam, China, Korea, and Japan, elders often warned against wearing shoes inside the house, especially shoes that had been used for long journeys, worn at night, or taken through dark or unfamiliar places. These warnings were rarely accompanied by specific explanations. Instead, they were simply described as not advisable or not good for the home. In traditional thinking, a house was not only a physical shelter, but a private space where people rested and restored balance. Everything that entered the home was believed to influence its overall atmosphere. Shoes positioned between the human body and the ground were therefore seen as something that should stop at the threshold. Some folk stories suggest that shoes associated with long travels, exhausting journeys, or unfortunate events should be especially avoided indoors, not because there was anything inherently wrong with the shoes themselves, but because they were thought to carry the emotional weight of past experiences. In Japanese culture, the boundary between the outside and the inside of the home is clearly defined. The area for shoes is always lower than the living floor, serving as a transitional space. Stepping beyond this boundary while still wearing shoes is considered a disruption of spatial order rather than merely a matter of etiquette. In Korea, leaving shoes outside is closely connected to the traditional heated floor system. Alongside this practical reason, there is also a belief that keeping shoes outside prevents things that do not belong to the family space from entering. In this sense, shoes symbolize the outside world with all its disorder and unpredictability. In ancient Chinese folk records, shoes were sometimes described as carrying strong yang energy due to their constant exposure to roads, markets, and crowded places. Bringing them into the home, a space associated with stability and calm, was thought to risk unwanted disturbance. From a practical standpoint, shoes carry bacteria, dirt, and unpleasant odors. Yet instead of scientific explanations, earlier generations used memorable cultural ideas to convey this wisdom. Taboos surrounding shoes thus became an efficient way to pass down everyday knowledge. In some households, certain shoes were never brought inside at all, such as shoes worn to funerals, shoes used for heavy labor, or shoes that had passed through places considered unclean. These were often kept separate, sometimes not even stored alongside other footwear. Notably, these taboos were rarely associated with explicit fear. People seldom claimed that wearing shoes indoors would cause a specific disaster. Instead, they spoke of vague sensations, feeling uneasy, sleeping poorly, or sensing that the home felt heavier. These impressions were subtle, yet widely relatable. From a psychological perspective, maintaining a clear boundary between outside and inside helps people shift mental states. Removing shoes marks the end of work and the return to a safe space. When this boundary is disrupted, the sense of rest can also be affected. Stories about shoes that should not be brought indoors reflect a deeply human need to preserve the home as a space separate from external pressures. As symbols, shoes represent journeys, contact, and daily fatigue. In modern society, especially in small apartments, removing shoes may be seen as unnecessary. Yet in households that still maintain this practice, leaving shoes at the door is not only about cleanliness, but about preserving a familiar and comforting rhythm within the home. Perhaps when older generations warned that certain shoes should not be brought inside, they were not truly speaking about footwear. They were speaking about what people carry with them from the outside world: exhaustion, tension, and the memories of a long day. And so, removing one's shoes at the door can be understood as a small act with quiet significance, leaving behind what is unnecessary before stepping into the place we call home.